Nest, a Marvel fanfiction written by Killianthebee on AO3. Tony didn't even register anything as weird as he stumbled into the kitchen after an all-night lab sesh. The only thing on his mind was coffee. He didn't even notice the looks the other Avengers were shooting towards the corner of the ceiling. He wasn't even aware they were there until he started guzzling down his second cup of coffee at record speed. "Oh, hey guys." Steve gave him a concerned look, and he asked, "How long were you up at?" About 12 hours. Friday chimed in. "Boss has not slept in 32 hours. Tony sent a glare to the ceiling. Steve shook his head and said, "Tony, that's not healthy." Clint scoffs. "Who cares? Are we going to talk about the giant whatever it is on the ceiling?" He gestures towards it. Steve reprimanded him. "Language." Tony turns in the direction Clint helpfully pointed at. In the corner of the ceiling there's a bunch of clothes, his clothes to be exact, and they're stretching across the corner of the room from one wall to the other. The others don't know what it is, but Peter does. It's a web, covered in his clothes, and Tony knows the one person who can make webs and has access to his clothes. Jesus Christ, he's gonna kill the kid. Bruce squinted at it. "Is that Tony's Black Sabbath t-shirt?" They all turned to look at him. He took a sip of his coffee. Natasha rolled her eyes. Steve huffed. "Well?" Tony took another look at it. The kid had improved since the first one, stealing even more clothes than last time. "Looks comfy." Tony looked back at them and said, "Well, what do you think it is?" Clint responds, "Looks to be much of your clothes. What is it even hanging on?" "A web." Clint looks confused. "Huh?" Steve says, "Like that spider kid?" "Spider-Man, yes." Bruce looks incredulous. "Why is he doing that with all your clothes?" Tony doesn't actually know the answer to that. "I'll get back to you on that." Steve doesn't look happy. "Do you just let the kid do whatever? How come we haven't seen him?" "As long as it won't hurt him, I don't really care what he does. The kid is very good at sneaking." This answer does not seem to placate the man. Natasha nods. "So, he's your kid." Tony splutters. He's not my kid, he's... whatever you say. He has spider genetics, right?" He nods slowly. "Well, he probably has spider instincts to make a nest, and your clothes make him feel safe. It makes sense." "That doesn't..." Clint says. "I didn't expect Tony Stark to be a father." Tony slammed his coffee down on the table. "I'm not his father." "Okay," Natasha tells him. "I can tell by the way you talk about him that you feel like his father. I bet he's considering the same thing after the nest he made. Work out whatever issues you have going on, and talk to the kid." Then she left. They sat in silence as Tony stared at the hall Nasha disappeared down. Clint muttered, "Awkward." Steve glared. "Clint." Clint puts his hands up. "Sorry, I always wanted to do that. I'm gonna go get the train." Bruce looks relieved. "I'll be leaving too. I have some work to do in the lab." Clint waves. "I'm still eating, so bye-bye." Clint coughs, not once, but 3 times, very unsubtly. "Actually, eating in my room sounds like it'd be really fun." They leave. Tony stares down at the counter. He had to admit that Natasha was right about him seeing Peter as his son. At least, but he can't be a father. He would just ruin the kid. He's never had a healthy father-son relationship to base it on. First his dad, then Obi, not to mention tons of problems Tony has. He's a recovering alcoholic, and he works himself until he passes out. He's a complete jerk to most people, and he just can't be a good parent to Peter. He gets back to work taking down the nest of clothes. Surprisingly, he needs his clothes. He sets aside a pile for the kids to use later this week. Peter puts the pile to good use next time he's over. Tony watches him make one in the living room this time. The kid already made the base of the web and is now laying the clothes on top of it with the webs too. He does this a couple times until he deems it comfy enough and snuggles right into Tony's MIT hoodie. He seems like he's about to fall asleep until he opens his eyes and looks at Tony. "Are you okay, Mr. Stark?" Tony blinks and nodded. "Yeah, kid." Peter looks nervous. Do you want me to take it down or something? Why are you staring at me?" Tony adamantly shook his head. No, kid. Keep doing these. I like them. I was just wondering something." Peter perks up. "What is it?" Tony thought of Natasha's words. Did the kid feel safe with him? Tony doesn't remember the last time he voluntarily fell asleep in front of anyone. Honestly, he thinks it only happens when he's about to pass out from exhaustion. "Why do you make these nests?" Peter tilted his head and mouthed nests to himself. Then the kid looked sheepish. Well, I don't know. I have the urges to make webs and your clothes make you feel safe. It's like cuddling you. The kid looked away at that, and Tony had to force himself not to let out the goofiest smile ever. You know the real thing's right here, right? Peter snapped his head back. You would really? Sure, you're my kid. Don't fathers do that?